roof collapsed at a supermarket in France.
Soccer bopper, more fun than a pillow fight.
Everyone comes down to Video Rangers for all their video rental needs. They've got the biggest selection of movies anywhere, thousands of movies in stock, the hottest new releases, and classics you won't find anywhere else. Weekdays is rent 2, get 1 free, and kids under 12 receive free popcorn with any rental. Don't worry, adults, we didn't forget about you. Rent a film from behind the beads and receive a free bottle of lube. Compliments of Video Rangers Videotape Club. Visit your local Video Rangers today. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 122 of the Video Rangers podcast. I'm Mike Ranger, broadcasting once again from my movie library. Hopefully you enjoyed part 1 and you're back for the sequel, but if you're just joining us, the last episode we talked about my Blu-ray and DVD collection, and this time we strike back with VHS and Laserdisc. So I guess we'll start off with why I collect VHS and what am I looking for. I love the box art. It reminds me of going to my video store every weekend, walking around. These were the covers I saw. The cover, in a lot of ways, much like a Nintendo game, got you to rent that movie, buy that movie. Some of my favorite box art are Fright Night from 1985, or Ghost Town from 1988, or Up the Creek 1984. These are just some examples of some of my favorite box art. And I'm looking for movies that aren't available on DVD or Blu-ray. I don't buy digital unless I have no other option. The only digital film I've purchased to date is Miami Connection from 1988. A lot of movies get lost when the industry changes formats, and some films only survive on VHS. Horror films are definitely like the most sought-after tapes. If you're out there looking, keep your eye out for Lightning Video, Vestron, Prism, Canon releases. Also look out for Donna Mitchell Productions or anything that's been banned or just not released at all, like Song of the South, and I'm strictly speaking for North America. But really just follow one simple rule, and 9 times out of 10, you'll be perfectly fine, and that is, if the cover's cool, buy it. Where do I find tapes? Flea markets, eBay, Goodwill, Salvation Army, Amazon, believe it or not. Facebook Marketplace. I've had a lot of luck with the Facebook Marketplace. I've actually gotten boxes of movies for free. I used to use Craigslist. That's pretty much dead. Another good place to look is on Instagram. What tapes am I looking for? It's not that I never find any of these, but I've learned to be somewhat realistic about what I'm buying these for. I truly do not collect for value. I buy these because I want to watch them or because I like owning the VHS copy that I used to see in the video store. I've never spent more than $25 on a tape, and I've only spent over $20 twice, and that was $20 for Hamburger the Motion Picture and $25 for Hot Chili. And it's rare to see a VHS of Hot Chili come up. I mean, anytime you see it, it's usually like $40. The beta copy you'll see a little bit more often, but again, that's going to come with somewhat of a price. I don't even have a beta player anymore, so I really don't even collect beta anymore. With that said, here's some stuff that I am keeping my eye out for. If I can snag it for a good price, you rarely ever see these. Sleepaway Camp 1 and 2, Malibu Bikini Shop, Microwave Massacre, Spookies, Savage Streets, GoBots, Battle of the Rock Lords, The Video Dead, Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers, Pink Motel, Party Favors, Gimme an F, just sex comedies in general. Tommy Tricker and the Stamp Traveler, The Dog Who Stopped the War. All right, some of my favorites in my collection are obviously Hamburger the Motion Picture, Hot Chili, Sex Appeal, Hot Resort, Basic Training, It Takes Two from 1988, Meatballs Part 2 and 3, Think Big with the Barbarian Brothers, Purple People Eater. These are ones that I actually had to hunt down. Some tapes that I had that I actually, looking back, I kind of wish that I never gave them away. The Invisible Kid, 1988. Galactic Gigolo, 1987. And Galactic Gigolo what an awful, terrible movie, but it's got such an important place in VHS history in general. If you're going to go back to the early days of rental stores and trying to understand that, they've got space to fill. And that's how a lot of these weird fucking movies ended up on the shelves. Like a lot of those cult or horror movies that people are into really only exist because there was shelf space to fill. All right, let's talk about bootleg tapes. Now, I don't buy many of these. The last one I got was a Roger Corman's Fantastic Four, and that's just a bootleg of an unreleased movie. Now, my father did buy bootlegs. Sometimes he would come home with bootlegs from the city, and when I say the city, I mean Manhattan. If you're from the tri-state area, New York, Connecticut, Jersey, and you say the city, everybody knows you're talking about Manhattan. Nobody from New York says fucking New York City like it's a fucking salsa commercial. But these were fucking stellar bootlegs. I had one bad experience, and that's when he came home with Little Giants, and it had the audio track from The Next Karate Kid. So you can imagine, my brothers and I were quite upset, especially the little ones. There were tears. Now, sometimes I will buy bootleg DVD copies of movies that are only available on VHS. These are things that I usually find at a convention or at a movie marathon. Like I have Hamburger the Motion Picture on VHS, but I also have a DVD rip of it, and I've got it for Little Darlings and a couple other movies. And the whole reason for that is I did it for the convenience of the podcast, because normally we're recording these at Chris's house, and I had to lug VCRs, which is we've done before. We did that for Hot Dog the movie. I have the day is coming where the Laserdiscs player is going to have to get in the car, and these things are fucking heavy. I got to set them up. I'm walking in his house and it looks like I have an unlicensed nuclear accelerator on my back. All right, how about a little Mike Ranger collecting advice? Now, if I can offer you any real advice, it's to remind yourself that you do not need any of this. You don't want to be in a position where you're choosing a movie over your fucking cell phone bill. Now, I don't have the nicest collection, and you shouldn't let anybody make you feel bad over not having a certain fucking tape. The term real VHS collector gets thrown around a lot. Collect how you want to collect. Personally, I go after cool covers, sex comedies, and shit I saw on USA Up All Night. I'm not an expert, but I do have like an eye for it. I know when I see something that's uncommon. I'm definitely not trying to go broke over it, because half of this shit I'm going to watch once and then it's going to get fucking buried and I'm never going to see it again. Also, don't judge a movie by its cover, and always check for mold. All right, let's look at some tapes. Where are we going to start? All right, let's start here with The Birds 2, Land's End. History has a nasty way of repeating itself. Now, this is a screener version of The Birds 2, Land's End, and I do have the regular version, but I wanted to talk about this one because what I find interesting on the back, all right, so it tells you, obviously, you get a quick synopsis of the movie. The most terrifying vision in the history of motion pictures is back. Brad Johnson, Chelsea Field, and Tippi Hedren, star of the original thriller, battle nature's most chilling revenge on mankind when a savage flock of killer birds invade a tiny East Coast island. So now they're on the East Coast. All right, well, last time they were on the West Coast in Bodega Bay. But then they've also got on here, just some reasons that your video store should carry this movie. So, like, Sky High Awareness, The Birds 2, Land's End is a sequel with a widespread built-in audience that spans generations. It pays to be kept in suspense. The Birds 2, Land's End is a suspense thriller, one of today's most powerful genres. A trailer for The Birds 2, Land's End appears on the 1994 fourth quarter in-store preview reel, generating anticipation and instant impact for the exciting new title. An awesome Birds 2 pre-pack offer. Buy 3 units of The Birds 2, Land's End and receive an official Jurassic Park glow-in-the-dark t-shirt. How fucking cool is that, man? You get a fucking t-shirt. I like it when they give you stuff, All right, let's, another movie. This is one of my favorites. Not so much for the box or anything, but this is one of the tapes that is left over from when I was a kid. And this is one of our Christmas tapes. And the name of the movie is called The Night They Saved Christmas. You're going to believe in Santa all over again. And this, if you haven't seen it, this is the movie where you probably have seen this. It did run on TV. It's got fucking the redheaded kid from Critters in it. It's the one where like they're looking for oil and they're going to fucking blow up Santa Claus. They're dynamiting again. They're dynamiting again. I've had that tape since I was a kid. And in my house, my mother had like holiday movies, but they weren't available all year to watch. They went up in the attic along with the decorations. So I had to wait until Christmas time every year to watch all these Christmas tapes that we had. One of them was what we taped off of TV, like He-Man and She-Ra's Christmas special, and the Frosty and Rudolph and all that stuff. But this was one of the tapes that I would wait for every single year. Delightful film. Okay, now this is actually a movie that I rented a couple times. I used to see the trailer a lot. And I found this tape at Goodwill on Central Avenue in Albany, New York. And this is a movie starring Paul Hogan, Cuba Gooding Jr., Beverly D'Angelo, and it's Lightning Jack, a comedy about two outlaws who just want to be wanted. So it's right, yeah, Crocodile Dundee does a Western. This is actually a pretty funny movie if you haven't seen it. And I'm not going to talk about every single movie I have, but these are just some of the highlights. All right, where do we go? Where do we go from here? I got a stack of movies. Which ones shall we talk about? Let's go with this one here that was sent to me by the VHS Bandits. And this is a movie called Josh and Sam. Why run away from home when you can drive? A comic adventure, says Family Life magazine. Deserves to be a hit of the season. 60-second preview. 4 stars. And if you haven't seen this movie, this is like a cool kids movie. They say here on the back of the box, it's Home Alone meets Thelma and Louise. I'm not even going to read the rest. That says it all right there. All right, here's a movie that I actually had to repurchase because I did have this one as a kid, but we didn't have the box. So I said to myself, why don't I go out and get the box? I can do that. I'm an adult. Nobody's going to say anything. Maybe my wife, but other than that, nobody's going to say anything. I know Chris Ranger might judge me, every now and then when he sees me hauling a box of tapes. This is a movie that has a kid, and it's called The Gate 2, Return to the Nightmare. And I'm sure most of you have seen Gate 1. Maybe not many of you have seen The Gate Part 2. Stephen Dorfman, whatever the fuck his name is, does not return in the sequel, but you do have Terry in the sequel, and he's just as creepy as he was in the first movie. It's a bit of a letdown, but there was a time when this was actually somewhat hard to get, but I think Shout Factory did put out a new Blu-ray, so you could go that route if you wanted to. I probably will upgrade eventually. Now, a lot of movies that I collect are things from my childhood, so some of these things, you're going to think I'm a little fucking weird. So with our next movie, it's called The Purple People Eater, starring Ned Beatty, Shelley Winters, and Neil Patrick Harris. That's right, Doogie Howser, hanging out with the Purple People Eater. Family fun that's out of this world. This is a media release. And this is another one that I've rented a handful of times. It's kind of like a musical. It's got a lot of 50s music in it, and it's weird. But yeah, I have it. Don't judge me. All right, let's talk about something adult. All right, just in case, so we spread it around like it's we keep our tapes like food groups. All right, next up we got Dennis Christopher in Fade to Black. Eric Binford lives for the movies. Sometimes he kills for them too. That's a good. I like that. If you haven't seen this one, shy, lonely Eric Binford, Dennis Christopher, delivers film cassettes and film-related supplies in Los Angeles for a living. But he really exists only to see movies and immerse himself into fantasies about cinematic characters and stars. Frequently bullied and betrayed, Eric confronts himself by pretending to be one of the many tough heroes or villains who have captivated him from the silver screen. When a series of unpleasant incidents loosen Eric's already weak grip on reality, it sends him into a homicidal rage. He launches a series of grotesque murders, all patterned after characters and incidents from his beloved movies. He becomes known as the Celluloid Killer, one of the most horrifying murders the city has ever known. Pretty dope movie. You should watch it, man. Trying to be a little bit more loose this time, guys. I felt a little stiff last time. This time we're going to just fucking let it go. Just get loose. Like the fucking Beastie Boys. All right, now this next movie is one that I used to see on TV all the time, and I think I used to see it on USA, but like during the day. It was like kind of one of those weekend movies. And this movie is called Showdown, There Is No Other Way. It's from the director of Best of the Best 1 and 2. Double fucking whammy. Look at that. And if you haven't seen this one, it's the one with Billy Blanks, and he's the janitor. And there's like underground teenage kumites going on. It's Bloodsport goes to high school. It's fucking awesome. Billy Blanks is in it. Speaking of kick-ass covers, look up Bloody Birthday. I've got a copy of that. That's a pretty decent horror movie, but the cover is fucking excellent. It's a Prism release. Definitely look up Bloody Birthday. See what the cover looks like. Maybe I'll post that one. I'll try to get a picture for that. All right, moving right along, folks. Moving right along. If anybody doesn't know what that's from, it's from Dog Day Afternoon. All right, now this next tape comes with quite a story, quite a tale indeed. And we actually covered this movie inside of our first 20 episodes. And it's a movie starring Hulk Hogan and Zeus, and it's called No Holds Barred. Everybody's seen this. Anybody who was a Hulk Hogan fan, or even if you didn't like him, you saw this movie. It was a fantastic wrestling movie. What was cool about this is that I actually saw this on pay-per-view, and it was a pay-per-view and a match. So what they did was they showed you the movie, and then right afterwards, you got to see a steel cage match with Hogan and Brutus the Barber Beefcake against Randy Macho Man Savage and Zeus. And I got to tell you, man, as a kid, that was one of the fucking coolest things ever. Here's a movie I found in the middle of fucking nowhere, not expecting to find movies. Just walk up, there's a box there, and right on top is a movie I had been looking for quite some time with the great Ali Sheedy, and it's called Made to Order. Worse help is hard to find. I mean, Ali Sheedy is wonderfully engaging. Beverly D'Angelo and especially the late Dick Shaw are eminently lovable. Listen to Joanne Langfield of ABC Radio Network go. A sparkling Cinderella in reverse comedy. Kevin Thomas, LA Times. This is kind of like a weird Cinderella-esque kind of tale. You don't see it too often. All right, now I'm a big USA Up All Night fan. So obviously I'd have to go out and get a movie called Basic Training, which is a great sex comedy with the always incredible Rhonda Shear. All right, that's Basic Training. You can do it in the Army. The Army put them through hell until they found a little piece of heaven. I mean, it's a fun sex romp. And those are truly my favorite to collect. I like going after ridiculous sex comedies. Let's go to another movie from my childhood, and this one has another interesting story, and this is a movie called The Quest, a.k.a. Frog Dreamin'. This is with Henry Thomas, star of E.T. I love on the box, too. This is a Charter Entertainment release, and I love on the box that it says, Henry Thomas, the star of E.T., invites you on a journey beyond your imagination, an adventure for the hero in all of us. This is a fucking great movie. Now, I don't want to spoil it for anybody. The funny story behind this is that I saw this movie a handful of times on TV as a kid, and I was almost certain that nobody else had ever seen this movie, and I could not remember the name of it. And I ended up making a friend in high school, and I remember trying to explain this movie to a bunch of people, and he was the only one that actually had seen the movie, and he was like, oh, dude, I remember we kept going back and forth trying to remember this fucking name. And this is in the 90s, and the internet was not what it was. The internet was not what it is today. I mean, I didn't fucking spend any time really on a computer in the fucking 90s. It was maybe at school, handful of hours on fucking AOL. That was it. I wasn't fucking doing any fucking research. I didn't even think that it was fucking possible. And then one day, this is mid-2000s, about 2005, this is 2005, 2006, somewhere around there. I just decided that I'm going to fucking Google it. I don't even know if we called it that then. And I type in like what I remembered from the movie. This popped up, and that is how I ended up with a copy of The Quest. Behold, the power of the internet. Here I am thinking the only thing the internet is good for is a game of global thermonuclear war. Now, Dane Train and I from the VHS Bandits podcast have talked quite a bit about deceitful sex comedies. And I've also talked about just deceitful covers in general, the movies that look so fucking good on the cover, and then you fucking watch them. And this is a movie called Off the Mark, an old-fashioned boy jock meets girl jock love story. It's about a boy and his dog, blind faith, a nasty Russian kid, friendship, and soul power. Now, this is a fucking excellent cover, but such a shitty spoof movie. It's one of those it's a movie that teeters the line of possibly showing you nudity, but it's not going to fucking happen. If you're going to have this shitty of a comedy package, you got to show nudity. That's the only thing that's going to keep coming back. There's no redeeming quality about this movie. Fuck that movie. Off the mark. Don't watch it. Now, I don't have to go into detail about Hamburger the Motion Picture, but this is one of my prized possessions. It's one of my favorite movies to own. This is a movie that Chris Ranger introduced to me. And I remember buying it when he told me about it. I was like, there can't be a movie called Hamburger the Motion Picture. And I bought it off of eBay. I paid $20 for it. And I am totally satisfied with this purchase. Now, I have a cut box version, which I do like because they're durable. But I think I do want one with just a regular sleeve, because if you can get one that looks real nice, I love that blue and the way that the cover. There's so many good things about this movie. I mean, there's a fucking hamburger bed. Dick Buckus is in the fucking movie. He's like the meanest guy ever. All right, next up is Meatballs 2 and 3. That's right. They're double packaged. They are fucking fantastic. Now, I do not own Meatballs Part 1 on VHS, but I do have a DVD copy of it. And Meatballs 4, well, let's just say we'll get to that later. But Meatballs Part 2, I mean, that is one of my all-time favorite sex comedies. And that is very true, that this is a deceitful sex comedy. They do not go where they should go. Apparently, there was a lot of deleted scenes, and I've talked about that in an episode before. So if you backtrack a little bit, look up, forget what exact episode it was, but it's Meatballs Part 2, the deleted scenes, and I go into detail about all the stuff that was removed from that movie. And Part 3 is great because it's actually a true sequel to the first movie. Second movie has nothing to do with fucking anything. They're just at a camp. But they do have an alien smoke a joint, and that is fucking awesome. And who doesn't love Boomer? All right, next is a movie that I did rent as a kid because the box always fucking intrigued me. And I got to be honest, horror movies scare me. I like it, but they scare me. I'm terrified. I have nightmares. I don't want to walk in the dark. Don't judge me. I collect tapes. But anyway, this is a cover that I would see all the time. And the movie's not that fucking great, but the cover is fucking excellent. And that's the movie Ghost Town from 1988. The good, the bad, the satanic Ghost Town. It's so cool. It's got a fucking skeleton, dressed like a cowboy, out on Main Street there, ready to draw his fucking guns like it's high noon. It's fucking fantastic. And it's basically about a cop who ends up finding an abandoned, a ghost town, and there's actual ghosts. And he's got to save a damsel in distress. Fantastic. You should definitely go out and see if you can get a copy of Ghost Town. Now, if I'm correct, I believe there is a new Blu-ray release of this film as well, but you're probably going to be paying $15 plus. And, it's all depends on your budget. Here's another movie. It's called Big Shots. They stole a Mercedes with a body in the trunk, and it's a cool kids movie. It's like kind of like a kids version of a buddy cop kind of movie or a buddy movie. And one of the kids in the movie is fucking Eddie from Family Matters. And this is a fun movie. It's one kid, his dad dies and he runs away and he ends up in the city and he meets this other kid who happens to be like, he's a little bit more street smart, but he doesn't have any parents either. And he's kind of living in a basement. Yeah, but they end up with a body in a trunk. Big Shots. Go see it. All right, moving on to another favorite cover of mine and movie that I actually do hope to do on the podcast, and this is Stewardess School. Now, this is an RCA Columbia Pictures release, and it's got the flaps on it, and this is actually a really good condition one. And where I got this was a place called 3C Video in Monroe, New York. And this is just absolutely excellent cover. It's not that... This is just a great cover, but it's not that great of a movie. I like it. I find it fun. But it's kind of, your typical Police Academy knockoff where you got this zany cast. I mean, you've seen this before. Anytime there's a movie that has the word school in it, university, academy, you definitely want to check it out. All right, here's a movie that I guess some would consider a holy grail. I don't know if you call it a holy grail, but it's definitely not a common tape. And this movie is called Sex Appeal. If you don't have any, you can't get any. Cover is fucking fantastic, but the movie itself is not very good. Plenty of nudity, but it's just a shit fucking movie. It's got the kid from Wimps in it, if you've ever seen that movie. And Wimps is a movie that I have not on tape, but I have a converted DVD version of it. If you're looking for stuff like that, go over to VHSPS.com. They do that stuff. They do decent work. I mean, if your goal is to just watch it, you know? Yeah, but this movie's fucking total shit. Tony's looking to get some hands-on experience. Tony Cannoli ain't got any sex appeal, and Tony isn't getting any sex. You pretty much get what's going on here. This is a fucking terrible, terrible movie. Don't watch it. And certainly don't pay a lot for that one. All right, here's a movie that I talked about in the last episode. It's called Space Raiders, and this is a Warner Home Video release, and it's in the big clamshell, and this is my VHS copy. I no longer have the Betamax copy. So I have good memories of this fucking movie. It's not a good movie whatsoever. Some interesting stuff with this movie. A lot of the interesting stuff with this movie, some of the audio is actually what you hear at the beginning of Dirt Bike Kid when he's watching the TV. When the kid's like, "I'm the only gunner you got." That's from this movie. And the kid that's in this movie is the kid from Over the Top. He's also the fucking drug dealer in the Different Strokes episode with Nancy Reagan. It's not a very good movie. I mean, fucking Indiana Travolta. What do you think of this one? It's a mix of Star Trek and Star Wars, and Star sucks. Thank you for that. And he's right. It's a fucking Star Trek knockoff and Star Wars. The interesting thing about this, they've got like a fucking guy on the cover that looks like Chewbacca. And I've seen this movie a bunch of times. If somebody knows where that character actually appears in the movie, can you let me know? Because I don't know where the fuck it is. He's 10 years old, and they've taken him 10 million miles into space. Such a fucking shit movie. This ship on the cover even looks like fucking the Enterprise. But one of the things I always liked about it is that my father would let me. One of my favorite lines were like, he says, "Goddamn rocks." As the kid says it, and my dad used to the only time he would let me curse. And I remember being there, sitting in front of the TV and being like, "Goddamn rocks." My mother's in the kitchen like, "I'm making the meatballs, Michael." All right, here's one of my holy grail tapes. And I hate throwing that word around, but this is an example of it. This is something that I was looking for a really long time because I am a fan of The Last American Virgin, and I was always curious about Joe Rubo and what he did, and I always used to come across this movie called Hot Chili, but I never actually got to see it. Eventually, I did catch it on YouTube. Somebody had uploaded a version, and I really wanted to fucking own this movie. And this movie's Hot Chili, 1985, and it is pretty much a spiritual successor to Last American Virgin, I guess. Like, no characters return, but a few similar cast members. And it's your typical 80s fucking four guys that are working in a resort for a fucking weekend. Or working in a resort for a summer, and they're going to try to get laid. But it's truly a gem. I wish they would put this out on DVD or Blu-ray. That would actually be cool. Because it's not as polished as Last American Virgin, but it's fucking balls to the wall. This is definitely one to check out. Very hard to find that one. I think I paid $25 for that one. I mean, that's the highest I've ever gone, but I don't see it often. Like I said before, I've seen it on Betamax a handful of times, on eBay. I've never run into this one in the wild. And, it's not available on any other format, and that's a fucking shame. But I love Cannon movies, Speaking of Cannon, let's move on with another movie from them, and it's called Hot Resort. And this one's got fucking Balky in it. That's right, Balky Bartakamos from the tiny island of Meatballs. Let's do the fucking Dance of Joy. This is a great MGM big box release. Doesn't really... the difference between them, though, they have... These boxes are made out of pretty shitty cardboard. If you stack stuff on them, they will fuck up. Kind of like in television boxes, like the boxes to television games. These ones are the kind that they have a flap that opens up in the front and the film will sit in a plastic tray. Now, my hot chili box is not in perfect condition, but my hot resort box it's intact. It's wrinkled, but I mean, you're going back to, these are fucking old. These are 1986 at best. But those are ones that I'm really happy that I got. Those are ones that I have been looking for a long time. They're very fun sex comedies. And eventually those will end up on the podcast. These are summer smut movies we're definitely going to do. Let's move on to a hidden gem of a film. And this one stars Steve Guttenberg, Jamie Gertz, and Shelley Long in Don't Tell Her It's Me, a hilarious comedy about true love and false identity. Now, this is not Steve Guttenberg at his best, but it is Steve Guttenberg like you've never seen him before. Shelley Long is Lizzie Potts, a romantic novelist who can't help meddling in other people's lives, like her brother Gus, Steve Guttenberg, who lacks confidence with women. Lizzie takes it upon herself to give him a full makeover, combining all the heroic men from her romantic novels into one guy no girl can resist, especially the girl of his dreams, Emily, Jamie Gertz. Under Lizzie's tutelage, Gus becomes Lobo, a smooth-talking, motorbike-riding, blue-eyed hunk, and Emily falls head over heels for him. So Gus has his girl, and Emily has her Lobo, but can true love be truly true if it's based on fiction? Gus feels he has to tell Emily who he really is, but will Emily love the Lobo-less Gus? That's a mouthful. And can Lizzie come up with a happy ending to her own romantic comedy of errors? This is a fun one. You don't see this one every day. I mean, if you can't get enough Gutenberg, there's your film. All right, here's a movie that I got at the Mahanan Drive-In at their VHS Fest. I think this is the first one. Yeah, the first time I went, I got movies. The second time I didn't. Cutting Class. No more pencils, no more books, no more teachers, dirty looks. Brad Pitt, one of his early films. All right, here's a weird movie that I just wanted to talk about real quick, and it's called Eat and Run. And even if you don't want to watch the movie, you should definitely look up the fucking trailer, because this is a weird fucking movie. Eat and Run, a comedy with taste. And I'm just going to read you just like the back, because you got to, watch the fucking trailer. This is the story of a 400-pound alien who eats Italian, not the food, the people. Eat and Run, a comedy with taste. When Murray Creature lands on Earth, the first person he meets is an Italian sausage maker who tells him the virtues of Italian food. Convinced, Creature eats the little Creature eats the little sausage maker and becomes hooked on live Italian food. Yeah, watch the trailer. It's fucking ridiculous. Another cover that I love is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and it's when they mimic the Breakfast Club poster. That is absolutely brilliant cover. Here's a movie that I feel is like a hidden gem. Most people don't really know about it. It's an Emmy winner for Outstanding Children's Entertainment, and this is one I saw on the Disney Channel. It's called Lost in the Barrens, and I really fucking dig this movie. This is a really cool story. Basically, this kid is an orphan, and he's going to this private school, and he's run out of money, and he's being forced to go live up like in deep Canada with his uncle, and it's a totally different fucking life. You know, they're living out in fucking like Iceland, and I mean they're living out in like the snow and ice, and like they're fucking trackers, and they're like killing deer for their clothes and shit. It's kind of, and this kid's coming from a rich fucking private school, and him and one of the I guess Native American kids or whatever. I don't know how do they say in Canada? Are you still Native American or is it Native Canadian? I don't know. Don't know how that works. Somebody explain it to me. Shoot me an email, videorangerspodcast@gmail.com. But this is a cool movie. They actually they get lost out there and they got to get back and survive. If you can find that movie, I think you can stream that one for free. Definitely look that up. It's called Lost in the Barrens. All right, here's a movie another one of those deceiving movies that you think is going to be fucking great because you assume that all the stars are aligned. I mean, you've got Andrew Dice Clay and Terry Hatcher. What could be better, right? And the fucking name of the movie is called Brain Smasher, A Love Story. And what you're expecting in this film is for Andrew Dice Clay to kick ass and have cool fucking one-liners, and it's just going to be a really fun fucking movie. Yeah, it's not. All right, here's another cool movie, and this is a sealed copy I have called Pick Up Summer, also known as Pinball Summer. I don't know if this is like a factory seal, but from the moment I've got it, it was sealed like this, and I just never bothered to open it. I do have a DVD copy of it. The funny thing about that is I don't remember where I got this one from. I have no idea. I mean, I might have. Yeah, I don't know where I got Pick Up Summer on VHS sealed. I have no memory of actually buying that, but I do have the DVD. The DVD I found in a fucking furniture store that was going out of business. They had a fucking movie rack next to the fucking counter, and the movies were for sale. And I'm just looking through, and I'm like, here's a fucking a fucking DVD of Pick Up Summer. How did this even end up on DVD? And that's a Canadian sex comedy, and we almost covered that one. But it's one of those movies where it's too 70s. It's not quite there yet. I do think it's worth a fucking watch, but it's a headache of a watch. It's just the way that they paced movies in the fucking, like they weren't quite there with the sex comedy just yet. I mean, even a movie like Hots or The Cheerleaders, which are considered fucking to be some of the better sex comedies, they still suffer from that weird fucking 70s pacing for these low budget movies. Another uncommon movie is called It Takes Two, and no, I'm not talking about the movie with the Olsen twins. 48 hours before his wedding, Travis Rogers is getting cold feet. Now a fast car and a faster woman makes him forget his previous engagement. Yeah, so this guy's about to get married, and then he goes and buys a fucking Lamborghini. Definitely watch that, if you can get a hold of it. All right, here's a movie called Dudes with Jon Cryer. And this is another one that I do believe has had a recent DVD or Blu-ray release. And this is from the director of The Decline of Western Civilization and Suburbia. This is a cool one. You don't see this one every day. I got this one up at Arcane Video up in Kingston, New York on Broadway. He actually has a functioning video store. It's pretty cool. And I bought that from him. You should definitely check it out if you're ever up that way. All right, here's a movie with the Barbarian Brothers called Think Big. And this is one that I used to watch on the USA Network. And it stars Peter Paul and David Paul as the Barbarian Brothers, Martin Mull. Yeah, whatever. All they had was strength and determination and a lucky chicken bone. Brains aren't everything. This is a media release. You've probably seen this. This is the one where the Barbarian Brothers are driving the truck and they've got the chicken bone, as you just heard. Chicken bone, chicken bone, chicken bone. Another Barbarians movie that I like is The Barbarians. Go figure. It's like Lou Gehrig had Lou Gehrig's disease. That's a line from the movie called Father's Day with Billy Crystal and Robin Williams. Let's talk about Corey Haim, because I'm a fan. Also a fan of Corey Feldman. Not today, but, 30 years ago. So here's a movie with Corey Haim called Oh, What a Night. It was the perfect 50s summer. Cool cars, pretty girls, first love. So yeah, Corey Haim hooks up with an older woman in this movie. And one of the reasons I wanted to see this was because it's Corey Haim after Lost Boys and, after Dream a Little Dream. And, this isn't exactly a common one. And you're always like kind of wondering, well, like they did other things. Let me see some of these lesser known ones. It's okay. It could be a little bit better, but he's not bad in it. There's nothing wrong with the movie. It's just kind of I would say it's it's probably a better made movie than Just One of the Girls with Corey Haim, which I also have, and that's Corey Haim and Nicole Eggert. And it's kind of like, it's a reversal of Just One of the Guys, and that one's okay. It does have some solid nudity scenes in it, but nothing too special. But while we're still talking about Corey Haim, another movie that I used to watch as a kid called Fast Getaway. And the one thing I always fucking loved about this cover is Corey Haim is wearing a pair of British Knights. How fucking cool is that? And this is the one where him and his father are stealing cars. And Cynthia Rothrock is in it. For all you No Retreat, No Surrender 2 fans. Here's a movie that was recommended to me by my VHS guy at the local flea market. It's called Making Contact, an out-of-this-world adventure. Only he can see it. Only he shares its magic. Only he knows the danger. That's a really cool movie. I had not seen that growing up. I kind of wish I did. Ski Patrol, another great fucking cover. And we recently did Ski Patrol. But I always really like this one. And this is one I used to see on TV a lot. And I actually do have a VHS copy of it now. Here's one with a great fucking cover and kind of just a blah fucking movie, and it's called Separate Vacations. It's just fucking mediocre, you know. Richard went south, Sarah went north, and their marriage went crazy. Yeah, it's just not fucking very good. Come vacation with comedy. That's kind of a weird fucking way to put it, right? Come vacation. Because they both go on separate vacations in the hopes that they're going to get fucking laid. More so the husband that they, you know, and it's kind of one of the one, obviously, like the wife's going to get fucking hit on and the husband's just going to have fucking zero luck. Sorry if I ruined the movie for you. But I like how they put that on the back. Come vacation with comedy. I know I'm just reading it wrong, but just something seems so odd about that. Screwballs. This is one that I got at a video store that was going out of business. And this is just like a more raunchy Porky's. It's definitely not as good a movie. And I would probably recommend Loose Screws over Screwballs. And I think the VHS Bandits would do that as well. Loose Screws is the sequel. The third movie I have not seen yet. Snowballing. This is a deceitful fucking sex comedy. It's got a fantastic fucking cover. I would say that it's got one of my favorite covers. And it's just, it's okay, but it is not, you know, it's not Hot Dog the movie or anything like that. But I love how they put it on the cover. What Porky's did for teenage life, what Meatballs did for summer camp, what my tutor did for school, Snowballing does for skiing. So with that buildup, it's a bit of a letdown. We are almost through the VHS, guys. We're doing great. I'm impressed. Give yourself a round of applause. You're doing fantastic. Thank you for staying here. Here's a movie that definitely was not worth my fucking time, but it is hard to find, and this is a Vestron release, and it's called Hot Moves. And it's got fucking Michael Zorich from fucking Private School, which is the whole fucking reason why I wanted to see the movie, because I thought he was great in Private School. It's just an okay fucking, it's just shit, actually. It's not worth the price tag. You know, if you can fucking get it cheap, it's worth having, but it is a pretty cool cover. And that's kind of why I'm saying, like, don't go out there and spend a ton of money on these tapes, because a lot of this stuff, especially if you haven't seen this stuff, because, you know, it's nice to have tapes that are kind of hard to find, but a lot of them are just not worth the fucking price. Like, you don't want to spend $20 on a movie that you're just, after you see it once, you're just like, fuck this, I'm never seeing this again. So a lot of this stuff I do try to snag at like a Goodwill or a flea market, or, you know, anytime I play, if I could pay under $10, I'm good with that. But really, I just want to pay like 50 cents. Now, I also have some very special tapes that were sent to me by the VHS Bandits. This is a great Halloween mixtape hosted by Super Dracula, the deadliest Dracula of them all. And it's got some great stuff on here. It's 2 tapes, and you've got things like the Halloween That Almost Wasn't, Garfield's Halloween Adventure, Mr. Boogedy, Bride of Boogedy, Family Matters, Dark and Stormy Night, Family Matters, Stevil 2, This Time He's Not Alone, The Worst Witch. On the other tape, it's Goosebumps, The Haunted Mask, The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, Mad TV, Halloween Sketches, Mr. Bill, Halloween, Simpsons Treehouse of Horror, and it does include commercials, and you got Disney's Halloween Treat. So this is a great set that they sent me. Really fucking cool that they did that. And the other tape I have from the VHS Bandits is a movie that they made, it looks like when they must have been in high school, called Lock and Load. And I love the description on the back of the box. Listen to this. Sergeant Jay Jammett has the day off from his humble job as a special operations mercenary for the U.S. military when Jay's boss, Lieutenant Wesker, is that from Resident Evil, calls him into action to stop a nuclear terrorist. He will lock and load for a mission like none other. When things go from professional to personal, it's up to Jay, a mysterious badge, and tons of ammo to stop a nuclear attack and save the world. With the influence of Steven Seagal, Dolph Lundgren, and John Woo, Lock and Load explodes onto the screen like no other action film. All right, we are down to the last 2 films, and I saved these for last because They are both high-top video releases. I'm a big fan of high-top video releases. And when I was a kid, I used to call them shoelace. One of them is Madballs, Escape from the Orb. This is one of my most rented tapes as a small child. And I was very happy that I was able to acquire one. And I got this a long time ago. Not exactly sure where I bought it. It's got some writing on it that a lot of my tapes have. So I think this is one of the ones that I got at 3C Video. I'm pretty sure, actually. And it's actually in really good condition. The box is in really good condition. But who didn't like Madballs? They were fucking great. I have a couple Madball tapes, but this is the one that I absolutely wanted to have because this is the one that I used to fucking rent so much. My last tape is a tape that I've been looking for probably the longest. One of my most rented tapes as a kid. I remember seeing this on Amazon for $20, and this is around 2005, 2006. I put it on my wish list, and I kept saying to myself, "Oh, I'll find this cheaper." I did not know that every fucking kid had the same experience and love for this fucking tape, and that it would not be an easy thing to find, or that I wouldn't be able to find it cheaper. In fact, the price kept going up and up. And considering what we're all going through right now, I certainly didn't expect to find it in the middle of all this crazy shit that we're dealing with. But I did. I found it on fucking Instagram, of all fucking places, and I found it for $10 fucking dollars. My Pet Monster, a live action video cassette. My most sought after fucking tape. This is both a happy and a sad day. You know, it's kind of like finishing A Link to the Past. It's like you worked so hard to get here and you just want the adventure to continue. Sadly, when I popped in My Pet Monster, a live action video cassette from High Tops Video, and I sat down in front of my TV, I was faced with the reality that some memories are best left as memories. Man, this movie was fucking bad. I cannot believe I love this thing so much, but I am so fucking happy that I finally fucking got it. I mean, it's just great. I always loved the cover. He's coming out of the TV. I never had a My Pet Monster when I was a kid. I always wanted one. I wanted a My Pet Monster so I could break the chains. I wanted a fucking Omnibot. I wanted that fucking Transformers train. You know, that big G.I. Joe boat. Now, I will say this, though. The box is a little beat to shit. But for what I paid for it, I really cannot fucking complain, man. I mean, you know, I don't know how often these were released. This one does have a barcode scanner on it. I don't remember if the box in the video store had the same thing. But yeah, this is definitely, I mean, if I had to rank my top 3 favorite tapes that I own, it's definitely going to be Hamburger the Motion Picture, Meatballs Part 2, My Pet Monster. Hot Chili in 4th. Another little tip. If you're going to have a VHS collection, get yourself a Kinyo tape rewinder. They work great. Now, yeah, I mean, you can find these things fairly fucking cheap. Do yourself a favor, get one. It's better you fucking burn that thing out than your VCR. Because they are getting harder and harder to find. It's so funny that I actually will go to Goodwill now, and I won't see a VCR. It happens. I actually wrote if you go to duelingdecades.com, I actually wrote a blog about it. I went to Goodwill, and I saw no VCR. Sad day, my friends. All right, so that is it for the VHS. Let's get on to the Laserdisc. So why don't we talk about my Laserdisc experience? And, well, basically, my uncle had one. You know, that was the first time I ever saw Laserdisc in person. My high school actually offered a cinema and lit class when I was in 12th grade, and I took that class. It was only like a semester long, and we would basically like read a book and then watch the movie. And that's how they got away with that. But the room had one, but the classroom had one, and that's how I saw Planet of the Apes. Now, I bought mine for $60, and it came with like a box of movies, about 12 movies, and I'm actually going to we'll go through each fucking movie because I don't have that many Laserdiscs. Now, why do I buy Laserdiscs? I love the artwork. It's like a big fucking record. Sometimes you get some added bonus features, and you do get a slightly better picture quality. All right, so let's look at some Laserdisc. Meatballs Part 2. Yes, I have that on Laserdisc. Meatballs Part 4, starring Corey Feldman. Yes, I have that on Laserdisc, of all fucking things. One that I really like is Hollywood Hot Tubs 2. Now, that's like the first movie is extremely rare on VHS, and I just thought it was so fucking ridiculous when I saw it on eBay. I was like, I have to fucking get this, because what a random fucking movie to have on Laserdisc. Now, I said before, one of the movies that I really wished I didn't give away was The Invisible Kid, and somebody might ask you, like, well, why would you even give that away if you love it so much? Well, it's because I bought The Invisible Kid on Laserdisc, and I was like, oh, well, now that I have this, I don't need the tape anymore. But I still do wish I have it, because I have a VCR hooked up to my TV downstairs, like the big TV in the living room, but my Laserdisc is up here in the movie library, and I'm never really up here watching movies, you know, like it's, so you could say that my Laserdisc collection is almost invisible. I have a couple Walt Disney movies. Like I have Walt Disney's Pete's Dragon on Laserdisc. I have a movie called Downtown with Anthony Edwards and Forrest Whitaker. I've got The Killer Tomatoes Strike Back. Mortuary Academy. Can imagine what that's about. Bye Bye Baby with fucking Bridget Nielsen. And then I've got some of those, like if you're, you know, for those of you that collect VHS and you're into Disney movies, you'll probably you've seen the white Disney clamshells, and I actually have some of those on VHS. And it's pretty cool that Walt Disney also had a similar look for their Laserdisc releases. So I have a couple of those. I've got Darby O'Gill and the Little People. I've got the one and only genuine original family band, The Love Bug, Escape to Witch Mountain, Bedknobs and Broomsticks. So those are pretty cool. I got those in a package deal off of eBay. I think I paid $8 and then maybe $3 for shipping, because there's a little bit of weight to this. I got Goodfellas on Laserdisc, Mickey's Christmas Carol, Raising Cain. I love that. It's like the most 90s thing ever. I have like a weird version of Beauty and the Beast. It's a full-length version as shown. I don't. It says work in progress. I don't know what that means. Some of these I haven't fucking actually watched, because these, now we're getting into the ones that actually came with the fucking Pioneer Laserdisc that I purchased. Unforgiven with Clint Eastwood. I've got a couple music releases, like ZZ Top's Greatest Hits, Bonnie Raitt. Oh, it came with Sidekicks with fucking Chuck Norris. I couldn't believe that when I bought that box. Oh, I have a Oh What a Night I also bought on fucking Laserdisc. This was an eBay mistake where I was bidding on both at the same time, and I ended up fucking winning both. Oh, I got a Van Halen Laserdisc. Tom Petty Laserdisc. Oh, all right. So I have Crocodile Dundee Part 2 on Laserdisc. And this is funny because I thought I was at a flea market and I thought I was buying the soundtrack on vinyl. And I got home and I was like, oh, it's a Laserdisc. Mobsters, if you've ever seen that movie, that's got fucking, it's got Christian Slater in it. White Men Can't Jump. Edward Scissorhands. Romancing the Stone. I got Heat. Look at that. Raising Arizona. Far and Away with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. And Animal House. So I have a decent, you know, a cool set of fucking Laserdisc. I really don't buy Laserdisc that often anymore. When I got my player, I definitely went out and I bought like 10 movies really quick, but I don't see them that often. And when I do, they're usually $10 plus. Again, what am I doing with these things? If I don't have easy access to them, then they're just going to fucking sit here. See, I'm getting smarter in my old age. This is what happens as you get older. You start thinking to yourself, like, am I going to actually use it? All right, so that pretty much does it for the fucking VHS and Laserdisc edition. I think I'll come back with a part 3 and we'll talk about some video games. But what we really want to see is some of your collection. So why don't you post some pictures on Instagram and use the hashtag Videotape Club and let us see what you got, man. I'm sure you got a lot cooler shit than I do. So what do you think? How did we do? I hope I was a little bit more entertaining this time. Or I was more annoying. I don't know. Either one. But before we go, why don't you check out some of our podcast pals like Mr. Throwback Thursday, VHS Bandits, Movie Madness Podcast, or the Retro Warriors. That's a retro video game podcast that I listen to. And actually, they really actually helped us get going, because when I had been listening to them for a while, and when Chris and I were talking about starting this podcast, I had a lot of questions, and I reached out to Justin of the Retro Warriors, and he actually gave me a shitload of advice on how to get started. And so definitely check out the Retro Warriors podcast. And of course, Dueling Decades, and definitely listen to Dueling Decades this week because I made an appearance on the show, and special guest judge was Lydia Cornell of Too Close for Comfort. And that actually was a lot of fun. So if you're listening to this and you haven't heard the new Dueling Decades episode, definitely go out and do that. And until next time, if you have a spare VCR just to clean mold, we're ready to believe you.